Hello, and welcome to the Practitioner Scholar, the PennCLO podcast. In this podcast, we journey through the intersection of academic rigor and real-world impact, spotlighting the practitioner scholars who are shaping the future of organizational learning and leadership. Whether you're an aspiring leader, a seasoned executive, or simply intrigued by the transformative power of education and research, this is the place for you. So sit back and prepare to unlock new perspectives as we delve into the compelling stories and insights that will define the future of learning and leadership.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Practitioner Scholar, a Penn Chief Learning Officer podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Marie Ore. Just in case you're not familiar, PennCLO is an executive doctoral degree program through the University of Pennsylvania's Graduate School of Education. The course of study focuses on organizational learning and leadership development within the public and private working sectors. It is also known as a Scholar Practitioner program, with an academic research component, meaning what is learned can be applied to the workplace through best practices. I'm a current student in the PennCLO program, and our guest is an alum. In this edition, we will meet Dr. Lilian Ajayi Ore, a top LinkedIn influencer, two-time recipient of the Top 100 Global Learning Leaders Award, and three-time Presidential Award recipient. She is a digital marketing strategist, a big data analytics executive with 17 years of experience. Dr. Lilian Ajayi Ore has held leadership roles in Fortune 500 companies and consults businesses on data-driven marketing strategies. She's an international speaker and humanitarian who has spoken on global platforms like the United Nations and is the founder of the award-winning nonprofit Global Connections for Women Foundation and contributes to media outlets such as the Harvard Business School Publishing Education. She serves as a faculty member at Columbia University and has been recognized as a top marketing professional in academia. Dr. Lilian Ajayi Ore also holds advanced degrees from the University of Pennsylvania's Chief Learning Officer doctoral program. Welcome, Dr. Lilian Ajayi Ore.
Yay, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Hello, Lisa Marie. Thank you again for the invite to be here today.
Hello, and definitely. But first off, may I call you Lilian?
Absolutely. And thank you for asking as well, because I earned that DR in front of my name.
Let me say, I am very excited about today's podcast, and here's why. We are in an age where digital presence is more than just a luxury, it's a necessity, and the stakes are high. A well-crafted digital persona can significantly impact an executive's career. It can impact their influence, and it can also have an organizational impact. As we navigate the digital age, having an effective online presence becomes increasingly crucial. It brings the question to light: are executives doing enough to stand out in their digital realm? If you're an executive or an emerging leader, this episode is a must listen. Lilian is here to provide us with 5 tips on executive branding to attract more opportunities. So to set the stage for our conversation today, your career spans across global diplomacy, corporate industry, consulting, and now academia. Can you tell us about your journey and what inspired you to pursue an advanced degree in the UPenn Chief Learning Officer program?
I was inspired by a lot of things. I was inspired by the work I did with my clients. I was inspired by my own intrinsic desire to continue to learn and grow as a continuous learner and, of course, a lifelong learner. But I was most inspired by my time with my students in the classroom. I was passionate about teaching, and what I brought into the classroom was my practitioner experiences. But I wanted to learn what it takes to be a scholar practitioner. And so the PennCLO program checked all of my boxes. The experience was brilliant. It was catered to executives like us who have very busy schedules. We had very similar interests in terms of the student population. And then the professors who also met with us, who spoke to us, who ran the courses, were people who were scholar practitioners themselves. So you pretty much had your hands-on experience and you had the lens of what it would be like to be like them and return back into the industry or return back to the classroom.
Wow, I really loved what you had to say. Learning as an art and even using what you've learned to be instinctual to different parts of your life. That is great learning and great experience. And that really resonates with me being a current student. So thank you for that. We're going to move into why you're here, talking about your expertise and focusing on branding as an executive. I know you have some tips for our audience. What are your 5 tips for branding as an executive?
Executives, we spend a lot of time given and in service of our business, in service of the people we live, in service of designing for our organizations in whatever capacity, whether it's in higher education or otherwise. And I feel like there are times in our journey that we don't focus inward to say, am I even recording? Am I allocating time to promote my efforts, to talk about what I do? And then I might also challenge it myself to elevate, to go into rooms that I typically wouldn't be in because we all have aspiration. I'm reading a book now by Marshall Goldsmith. It's titled Earn Life. And in it, he talks about the triple A effect: actions, ambition, and aspiration. And he said most executives are successful because they have great ambition. But the truth is, aspiration is what gives it longevity. It's something that you always desire. It changes as you evolve as well. So, the way I see why you should invest in your personal branding as an executive is this idea of aspirationally, there are certain opportunities that you want to draw to yourself that your everyday busyness doesn't always allow you to make time to do that. But one of the first tips that I would share that an executive need to think about is the idea of making sure you're present and you have a strategy. And in developing your strategy, you really do need to think through, all right, what is my objective? What do I want to achieve? Why do I need this now at this stage in my career? And I do a lot of executive coaching where my coaching, sometimes the topics I come up with, I don't do enough branding. Nobody knows me. I have people who are top CEOs of companies that are not in the big fives or the big tens, but they're doing very well in terms of profits and impact. And they have great people culture. And no one knows about these individuals. Being present is important, and also creating a strategy is important. So one of the first questions I always ask when I'm doing this coaching consultation is, what do you want to achieve next? Because I get it that you have 20 plus years of experience. You've reached the peak of your career. What is next for you? And so for them, it's more speaking opportunity, a book deal, right? Sitting on boards, whether it's a for-profit board or a nonprofit board. It's even doing consultation and providing consulting services because they have these knowledge capital that they're aching to give out. A lot of organizations do closed focus group. They want to be invited to those things. They want more podcast interviews. So how do people find you if you don't exist in the digital space? Because that's where the search begins. So once you're clear on what your strategies are and the intention behind why you want to do it, the next tip that I have is, what is your purpose, right? A lot of times, and I'll talk about this later on in my tips, most executives struggles with dividing their identity, separating their identity from what they've been doing and they've known for to now the next step of that aspirational desire of like, all right, I want to be known as a thought leader for this particular topic and have a purpose. Executives, to me, they should understand this concept better than anyone because we strive for results and we are very performance driven. So having a purpose around why you're doing this thing is important. And your purpose also translate into my third tip, which is a website, right? So that forces you outside of your comfort zone where the whole time you've been co-branding your existence with your organization or the things that you're involved with. But in order for you to take your next step, you need to now focus on you are the product now. You are the product in which you're pushing to the world and sit with whoever it is. I teamed up with my friend, Bill Connolly, and he has a platform called the Great Escapes. And all they do there is working on digital presence and digital styling for executives to try to figure out what's the best pathway forward for them so they can attract the opportunities that they want. So having a website is my third tip. I think every executive that aspires to do something more than what they're currently doing, or they're trying to transition. I have a lot of executives who are pivoting at the moment. I've been doing marketing for such a long time. I want to do more leadership. I want to do more talent development. This is when your thought leadership piece becomes very important. When you have a website, the next thing that you need to do is now create your content strategy, which is my tip number 4. What are you going to write about? What are you going to talk about? Having a content strategy is very important because a lot of executives also want to contribute. I want to write for the Huffington Post. I want to write for HBR. I want to write for New York Times, right? Again, when you approach these organizations, these publications, they're going to want to know, can you write? Have you written anything? They're going to want samples of your work. And so having a repository that lives on your website, and I know some of the executive watching this, okay, how am I going to make time to write an article? It's important that you understand your purpose. When your purpose is aligned with your aspiration, you make time. My husband is known to saying you prioritize what's important because you see it as important. So if you focusing on your branding as an executive to attract the opportunity you desire next is a priority for you, you will make time. And talk about things that you are interested in. When you write about things that you're interested in, the passion shines through, the writer's spirit comes inside of you, and you just write for hours. But make sure that you're writing for an audience that wants to take some key takeaways from it. So content strategy is important. And I always say that with me being a professor, I think it should be time-based as well. So it's not like you do one article and you walk away. You really need to make it a habit if you want to attract the attention that you want and you want to be seen as a thought leader. And then my 5th tip, which is my final tip, is practice self-promotion. Okay. The people that struggle the most with self-promotion are executives. And yet they are the ones with the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of experiences. And so I find it quite interesting when I work with younger executives who don't have as much expertise and they're starting to build that expertise in thought leadership. It's harder because there's no content available. We have to develop a different track for them to develop the content so that they can share. Self-promotion, I learned this from my really good friend and mentor, Sally, who wrote the book, How Women Rise. It's perfectly okay because how are people going to discover you if you don't share the things that you're working on and how you're changing culture and dynamics in your workplace and the innovative ideas that you present in your workplace all needs the credit that it deserves. And we are in a world where it's actually free to do advertising. Back in the day, you have to pay to put an ad in a magazine or a newspaper, and you have to pay for a specific size, whether it's like a small quarter size, half a page, full page. Now your LinkedIn page is your billboard to promote yourself. And why do you have a LinkedIn page if you can't talk about your own accomplishment? So I think at the end of the day, to summarize everything I said is those opportunities that you desire would only come if you figure out a way for them to discover you. So this is very important. The sooner you work on this strategy, the better. If you need assistance, come find me, Lilian Ajayi Ore. I'm on LinkedIn. I'll connect you with my partner, Bill Connolly, and we could sit with you and come up with a plan for how you can grow that. Because the irony is that according to Marshall Goldsmith's book, Earned Life, which I highly recommend that all executives read this book, one of the things he said was, if you don't pay attention and make the time to figure out what your aspirations are, you are going to lose that desire. And all your life will be based on actions and ambition. And you want your life to be an earned life where at every stages of your career, you're aspiring to do something else that you haven't explored before. And it gives you that satisfaction and that peace of mind to know that I've invested myself in ways that I never thought possible. And that's why my first tip is be intentional, be present, come up with a strategy. My second tip is be purposeful. What is the purpose of doing this? I know an executive, when you have purpose and objectives and goals set aside, you have more of an attitude that I want to accomplish these goals that I've set aside. The third thing that's a very easy thing to do is create your website. But of course, consult with someone who can do it well so that they project the best version of you out there, because all the board seats, all these speaking platforms, they want to be able to know that if they bring you on, you're going to represent yourself in the full form. And then the fourth tip is establishing a content strategy. Every executive wants a publishing deal. Every executive would love to write for HBR or any of these platforms. And you have to start by creating the habit of writing And writing needs to be a part of your routine in order for you to now get writing assignments for Fast Company, Inc. Magazine, what have you. I've seen some executives even start writing on LinkedIn. If you're not comfortable sharing your content yet, definitely put it on your personal site. Find an editor, find someone who's going to help you read it and make some edits for you. And then the last thing is make sure you do self-promote, because that's the only way that the world will discover you. Yes, it's nice to have that 360 connection where anyone in your circle can find you, but aspirationally wise, you want to reach people that are yet to meet you. So that's why it's important that you establish those 4 things. And then the 5th thing is you practice self-promotion, because it's qualifiable as an executive with your experience, with your background, with your tenure. The knowledge is needed. And now you want to make yourself available to the world to say, I want to share this knowledge. I want to share the stage, and I want to give my years of experience, my earned life. I want to give that of service to other people. And it brings you a new level of satisfaction and self-fulfillment.
Wow. Thank you for that. So yes, I was taking copious notes. I loved what you said about earned life and action, ambition, aspiration. Your 5 tips on your presence, developing your strategy, your purpose, making sure you have a purpose. You're creating a website, having a content strategy, and definitely practice. Leaning on your passion. I thought that was very purposeful, very important, so that you could have the spirit, have it in your spirit to intentionally write your work. And it leads me to circling back to your time at UPenn in the Chief Learning Officer program. What was your dissertation topic and the passion to write about that specific topic? What was your inspiration? How did you get there?
Yeah. One of the things that I would say is that one of the things that I loved, my cherished moment about investing in such a way at PennCLO program, it gave me my passion to write. I've always liked writing, but I felt like I really fell in love with it even more in the program. Obviously, everyone is thinking that it's a doctoral program. Of course, you're going to be writing. It's not just writing to write. Purposeful writing is something that you discover at PennCLO program. And it's the only program that I've seen, because I've been a part of a lot of programs. I do consulting with other programs that really does spend dedicated time. I still, like when I say this, I still remember Annie McKee coming into class and saying to us, read as much as you can to discover your own voice, to know what it is that you want your journey to be. And for me, I was very much interested in the learning prowess, which is the name of my new book coming out later on this year. And being a part of the program allowed me to say, all right, in this stage, aspirationally, what do I want to achieve? And what impact am I trying to create? For me, it was like making sure that I improve my pedagogy as a professor, right? And then not just me, and it's improving my pedagogy as a professor, also helping my counterparts, my colleagues as well, improving their pedagogy. So I wanted to do something that helps them, informs me, and informs them as well. And then something that would increase student success, because our students' needs are changing. Our world is changing. The challenges that they face at work is constantly changing because our world is constantly changing. And with the introduction of technology, and there's some things that are going on in our world that puts people in a very anxious state. So how do you design a program, a course for students who have different levels? And the other thing that I found that was so interesting was the fact that it was important to also understand the teaching prowess. So my dissertation focused on pedagogical effectiveness and teaching prowess. And my goal there was to have more of a 360 analysis. So it was a mixed method, quantitative and qualitative. I was interested in understanding how do adjunct faculty look at and assess their own teaching, and what specific teaching practices are they doing to effectively get students to learn. And then I had the 360 where I had students of their classroom assess them. So they took the same survey, and it was quite interesting to see how professors typically will grade themselves lower than, it was negligible, but students gave a lot of professors that they took the assessment for, they gave them higher points because they felt like they were effective. And my research focused on classroom management. It focused on pedagogy, teaching effectiveness. And then it also talked about just the environment, like how are you creating culture for students to learn, psychological safety, all of those things that we don't typically read about in books because we don't talk about the psychology behind teaching. We talk about it in early development teaching, But as adult, there are some psychological factors you need to also adhere by, not as a professional, but just as an educator who's dealing with a human being that sometimes are complex when they come into our classroom. And it was a beautiful experience. I loved every single moment of my dissertation. And shout out to my chair and all of my committee members, Joanna, Sharon, as well as Felice Tilden. They help mold me into the woman that I am today. And now I write more. I'm doing what I love. I love what I do in the classroom. I love the impact I'm able to make with executives when I talk to them about their path, their aspirations, and working and coaching them on that part. And then putting all of that in my book. And my book is titled The Learning Prowess. And again, it's funny, the first few chapters of the book was just me gushing about my time at the PennCLO program because it helped me come up with my learning prowess as well. And so one of my recommendations to executives is consider getting a higher education or even continuing learning. I think one of the things we talked about in the past, you and I, Lisa Marie, is this idea of continuous learning versus lifelong learning. Is there a difference between both? One of the things that you discover at the PennCLO program is you can do both. You can be a lifelong learner and you can also have that continuous learning. The lifelong learning starts when you end the program, when you complete your defense hearing. And what they do in the program is restore your passion for learning, restore your passion for humanity. I have students who just joined the program that I happen to follow on LinkedIn, and to hear their own reflection of their time, it's very much aligned with what I felt when I started. So I'm so happy that even 5 years out of the program, people still feel the same rigor that the program provides you as an individual in society. The other piece that we don't talk about a lot, the PennCLO program does cultivate, is the idea to give back, to do something out of this work. In my time at PennCLO, I came up with this pyramid. At the very top of the pyramid is you and what you contribute. And down below on the left side of the pyramid is society. And then on the right side of the pyramid are the individual that you are talking about their lived experiences. So these are the participants, making sure that their experience is something that you use to inform, to change idea, to impact, to create culture. And you don't learn, like everyone builds this conceptual framework because of their experience. And it's funny, now that I'm working on my book, I find myself going through the PennCLO books and to use that to cultivate some of my research. And one of my favorite books is this one called Reason and Rigor. It's by Sharon and Matt Regan. And it's a book that talks about conceptual framework, which is something you learn how to do so well and so naturally. Remember, I talked about the instinct that you pick up. These things are value add that PennCLO, I only applied to one program, and that was this one. And because it had everything that I wanted. And I remember I was meeting with my dean at Columbia, and he asked me, he said, what's the difference between Columbia and the PennCLO program? And I said, at the PennCLO program, I was in the company of people who wanted to change the world. The spirit that I bring to Columbia is to bring that tradition into the campus life as well, and to help my students shape the world, and to help my colleagues in whatever capacity to help shape whatever world they want to shape as well. And that you get, and it's something that's very special to the program. And in my book that's coming out, not that I'm pitching the book, I talk about the learning circles, and you know what I mean by the learning circles, Lisa Marie. And that's something that you learn so much from sitting in a table that's circular shaped in the classroom at PennCLO, and the type of conversation, discourse, and debate that we have with the different faculty member that comes, guest speakers that come, helping to mold us. We cry sometimes. We have joyful moments. We laugh a lot too, and we learn a lot as well. It's definitely one of the most cherished time of my existence. And if I could do the program all over again, I would. But I loved my experience and I relish in it all the time when I reflect back and I meet with students who are currently in the program. Oh my God, this is just the tip of the iceberg. But it's such profoundness that I feel when it comes to the PennCLO program. There is something different about this program. You don't quite know it until you join the program. And it transforms who you are and your own identity, and it helps you achieve your goals for sure.
Thank you for that. You really answered my next question. The next question was going to be, how has the Penn Chief Learning Officer program shaped and influenced your identity? And you have so eloquently stated your joy, your love, your compassion for the program, as well as how it cultivated and curated you into the person that you are today. And I think that is phenomenal. And I am going through my curation period right now, where I am definitely being influenced by everything that you talked about, including the circle. But our time is coming to a close. So you have provided so much information, so much guidance. I have one more question, and it's a fun question. So I want you to think about this. If you were to create a hashtag about your life as a digital strategist and an educator, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think for me, it would be of service. Hashtag Dr. Ore of service. Because I think what brings me the most joy is the fact that I've made myself of service to others and even of service to myself as a leader as well, because we're constantly evolving. And the role of a leader is to help create opportunities for those who are under your care. And for me, the service piece is very important. And that's what brings me a lot of joy. And that's why I choose the programs that I choose. And I do the work that I do now. And I've done the work that I've done in the past as well, because of this act of service is very important to me as an individual.
Thank you. This was wonderful. However, that's our time for today. If anyone would like to contact you or follow your work, what's the best way for them to do so?
Yes. So look for me at lilianore.com. And that's Lilian with one L on ORE.com. Or find me on LinkedIn, Lilian Ajayi Ore. And I look forward to meeting all of you. Thank you for your time today and all those great questions.
Thank you again for your time. This has truly been an informative session. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Practitioner Scholar, a Penn Chief Learning Officer podcast.
And that brings us to the end of another enriching episode of the Practitioner Scholar, the PennCLO podcast. We hope you found inspiration in the stories and insights shared today. These narratives serve as a testament to the transformative impact that well-informed leadership can have across organizations and industries. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay engaged as we continue to explore the ever-evolving landscape of leadership and learning. Thank you, and goodbye until next time.